Paltrocast. Aside from having to do this interview, how's your day going, Bill?
Oh, very well, thanks. Good.
Dialing in from Los Angeles, I would assume?
Yeah, well, South Pasadena, but, close enough.
South Pasadena, I mean, if you're not from LA, you think Pasadena is LA, but when did you first move out to LA? Because you're originally from Pennsylvania, right?
Right. Yeah, I came out here in, 94. I've been here continuously.
So I know that you studied in schools out in the LA area as a musician, but what brought you out to LA in the first place?
Oh, well, I was out here from 89 to 91. I did my master's at University of Southern California in jazz guitar.
So yes, you are a jazz player. People who watch you on YouTube see you playing every genre. You could do the sweep picking, etc. But
Right.
did you come out to LA to basically be a session guitar player?
Well, I just wanted to get the education first and then see where it went from there. Because it's so competitive out here, as you know.
Yeah.
So I wanted to really be a college teacher. So that's why I was going for the degree, So.
But when you came out to LA, 89 to 91, that was like the peak of the hair metal in LA. That was the accidental heavy metal peak. So did you have any experience moonlighting in any of the hard rock bands?
No, I wasn't a heavy metal player, and of course I didn't have the image, so that made that an impossibility, So.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, when I saw you live with the Crustys at Pauly Palooza, I guess that was close to a year ago, seeing you play Marshall Tucker Band and things like that, I know you can play the hard rock when you want to.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's important to be versatile, But for live performance, of course, the visual is so important with a lot of bands,
Yeah, when it comes to the songs that you play with Pauly, I've heard Traveling Wilburys, the Kinks, etc. Did you know how to play all that stuff to begin with?
Well, I had a good training because I played in top 40 bands back when I was in Pennsylvania for years, over 12 years. We did every kind of music, from polkas to heavy metal,
Oh, okay. So did you have to learn Van Halen stuff as part of that?
We didn't do as much, well, a little bit of that. We did some heavier stuff, but we didn't do exclusively, metal, just tastes of it, or touches of it for the clubs,
I just figured Pasadena resident right there, Van Halen, it just kind of goes hand in hand.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he's one of our proud residents, true, yeah.
Right. Kenny Loggins, I think, was also a Pasadena guy. Am I right about that?
Oh, could be. I didn't know that.
I think he went to the city college that's out there that the Van Halen brothers and David Lee Roth also went to. I mean, let's face it, Pasadena does not get the respect that it deserves.
That's true.
So with you, I know you as this excellent guitar instructor who puts out the YouTube tutorials and is pretty active on Instagram. A lot of people know you from co-hosting with Pauly on the podcast, seeing you live at the Pauly gigs. How did you and Pauly first connect?
Well, it was an interesting story. I used to live in Los Feliz, which is right outside of downtown LA. And there would be a Starbucks I would go to every morning and just have my tea and just relax, So one day I'm there and I see a friend of mine. So I go over to talk to him, and standing right next to him was Pauly, but I didn't recognize him. I assumed he was a friend of my friend. So I'm waiting for him to say, "Oh, Bill, here's my friend so-and-so," And so I look at him and he's looking at me and he says, "Oh, hey, I'm Pauly Shore. I think you'd be going to be on my podcast." And I thought, I was embarrassed. I said, "Well, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you at first, And so he said, "Yeah, I want you to be on my podcast, give me your card and I'll give you a buzz." And of course I thought, well, this will never happen, because everyone's doing stuff out here and then you never hear from them, So then 2 days later he calls and that's how it all started.
Wow. So he does call himself Pauly. It doesn't go from Pauly to Paul?
No, no, I've always heard him called Pauly, and that's how he refers to himself,
And so had he heard your guitar playing in some way before that encounter?
No, in fact, it was funny. He asked me what I did, when I was talking to him. And I said, "Well, I play guitar." He says, "Oh, well, why don't you bring the guitar on the podcast? Maybe we can use it or something." It was just like a complete offhand remark, you know.
Got it. So the other people in the band, Norm is a hell of a bass player. That band that I saw in Vegas, had you worked with any of them before? Did you assemble the band in some way?
No, Pauly had contacted them. Like I said, Pauly was talking to musicians and wanted to recruit some members for the band. So I guess he talked to them, and they found Eddie, who was the first drummer. And then Pauly just says, "Oh, I got the guys. I'll fly you into Vegas and we'll do some taping." And that's how it started.
It's hard to tell watching it that the musicians are really tight, and then Pauly is obviously freestyling, doing what he wants. Does the band rehearse, or does everyone just get together and start playing?
No, well, we do rehearse. In fact, sometimes the band would get together without me, and they would
Really?
rehearse with Pauly just to get coordinated. And then when I fly in, we have a brief time to run over stuff, and then we shoot the videos, basically.
Oh, that's right. So the rest of the band is in Vegas. You're
Right.
the flying, you're the prized possession if they're willing to fly you in as the hired gun.
Yeah, well, I was very flattered by that. Pauly wanted me in the group, so I'm happy to help out, you know.
Had you been very familiar with Pauly's work before getting to know him, besides just knowing, hey, that's Pauly Shore? Like, had you seen all the movies?
Not everything, no, not tremendously. You know, I have heard of him, seen some of his stuff, but it was not like I was a huge fan, you know. I think that's why I didn't recognize him at first. I never expected to see him there, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I wasn't a huge fan. But I knew of his work. Yeah.
He fascinates me in that he's a very intelligent person pretending to be a slow adult. And by that, I mean, you know, in doing stand-up since he was a teenager and being around all the comedy greats and being around LA for its peak of the Sunset Strip, etc. This is a guy who remembers everything because he was relatively sober the whole time and knew everyone and knew everything, but is pretending to be dumber than you at all times. So
Right.
am I off base in saying that the smartest guy in the room that's pretending to be the dumbest guy in the room?
Well, like I said, it's like anything else. He plays a character, you know, and he plays that character in movies and on TV. And so I think he might adapt that to some degree in real life, but not all the time. You know, he's a very focused guy off camera, you know, very focused. Right. Yeah.
Right. The show that I saw in Vegas at the Plaza Hotel and Casino in the showroom, which again, you were part of, it was a variety show of sorts. It reminded me more of a Tony Clifton kind of thing, where he was verbally abusing the band. And I don't know if everyone got that joke, if they got the joke on that end. And it's fun to see that you're this nice, smiley guy, and you could take the joke. Like you could play the downtrodden, defeated person, but you're doing a character too.
Yeah, well, that's the way the podcasts were run too. You know, especially the earlier ones.
Yeah.
You know? And when some of my friends and family saw it at first, they didn't quite catch on. They thought he was really being abusive, you know. And I thought, no, and that's why even on the first podcast, I thought, well, he's busting my chops. Well, I'm going to bust back a little bit. And so it seemed to work. And so that's how it came, you know.
On that same trip, when my wife and I were in Vegas a day or two after the show, we saw, I think his name is Mike. He's one of the comedians that's in Pauly's entourage. We saw him at a tiki bar. I'm like, you're here? And we, in speaking to him, realized that's also a character.
Oh, Mike Tran, you're probably referring to. Bok Choy, as he's known.
Yeah, so it's really confusing where the work that you're doing with Pauly hits on a few levels, where there's the performance art aspect, there's the actual performance aspect to it. It's really tough to know where it ends, where it starts and where it ends, or at least that's my take on it.
Yeah, well, that's part of the fun, I think, because even in the podcast, Pauly has a great way of mixing fantasy and reality.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times people say, well, is Pauly really this or Pauly really do that? And I said, well, no, you have to take this with a grain of salt. You know, this is performance. You know, it's not a documentary. You know?
Well, did you yourself know that you had that performer in you? Granted, you know, playing jazz guitar has nothing to do with improv skills verbally or emotionally reacting to things. Did you know that was in you?
No, I had no idea. I had never, being out here, I had never thought of going out for theater or stand up or any kind of performance like that.
Wow. So your big break, if we want to call it that, totally an accident, organic thing because you were at Starbucks not looking for a job. You were just saying hi to your friend.
Yeah, yeah. And it was funny because at the time, Pauly was having just like random community people on his podcast. Like he had the girl that worked at a health food store. He had his druggist on. It was, and it was great.
Wow. When you think about that, the average person in LA is thinking like, I got to look as great as I can because somebody might hire me today. So they're all prepared and they have their elevator pitch going. And you just went out as yourself and wound up with a long-standing gig, just being yourself at Starbucks for that day.
Yeah, isn't that funny the way stuff works? Amazing.
Absolutely. So with Pauly, with the Crustys, there's a new album out. Did you record that exact number of tracks, or was more recorded and you pared it down for the album?
No, we did at least 4 or 5 more tracks. We actually recorded that all in one evening.
Got it.
We had we had the final Crustys gig in Vegas, and then the next night we recorded the CD, just in the whole one long session.
One long session. Okay, so multiple takes and you went, this is the best one. It was live vocals in the room, or were the vocals added later?
No overdubs. No, everything was done live. And all those decisions were made by Pauly afterwards. We would do several takes. And then, of course, after it's all done, he would get together with the engineer and say, okay, I want this, I don't want that, blah, blah, blah.
And then in terms of the video content that you film with him, being that he's in Vegas, you're in LA, is it the kind of thing where you go, okay, we're coming out for 2 days, we tape all the stuff, but then we space it out in posting it?
Yeah, because when he'd fly me in, we would do 5 or 6 songs recorded in his garage, okay? And then he would put them up on his schedule, which was usually every other week or something like that. But no, we did usually 6 songs in one session.
So they put you to work. When you come to Vegas, you're not kicking back. You're working for a couple of days straight.
Oh yeah. No, but it's enjoyable because it's the guys are so great to hang with, and it's fun. It really is.
The bass player, his name is Norm, right?
Right.
Yeah, when we saw the gig, Pauly just made him start freestyle rapping out of nowhere. So I get the vibe that he and you musically have very different influences.
I think so. Yeah, although Norm's a trained musician, he plays some other instruments and stuff, so but no, we have a good time with it,
There you go. So is there anything else that you want to plug that's coming up for you, or is it just, hey, follow Bill on Instagram and that's how you know the latest and the greatest?
Oh, well, I would like to mention my YouTube channel, Bill G. Degillio Music. Now, I have quite a few instructional videos on there that might be useful to some intermediate guitarists.
Now, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but is there another Bill Degillio, and hence the middle initial had to be used?
Well, my dad was William also, and so I just I started using William G to separate myself from him.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't.
But that was a long time ago.
If you joined a union or an actors guild and there was already a Bill Degillio, and you went, oh well, I got to be G.
Yeah, it's just one, because this is a big planet. I know there. In fact, I have a cousin with the same name, so.
Okay.
But I don't think he's in entertainment. But still, I'd like to differentiate myself. So.
And then in terms of the YouTube channel, will we ever see a testimonial on finger tapping?
That's not one of my strong points, actually. I tend to focus on my strengths. So there are people that do that a lot better than I do. Yeah.
Oh, well, Bill, it's been a pleasure learning about you, learning about the person behind the craft, seeing how you're just a talented, pleasant person who clearly is employable. If you were not liked, you would have lost this gig after 1 or 2 gigs with Pauly or 1 or 2 podcast episodes, but you are one of his longest term collaborators, and it's interesting to see where it's going to go in the future.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself. I am. Thank you.
And keep up the great content on Instagram and YouTube. Really looking forward to seeing what's next. You can make a non-jazz person interested based on your playing. So whatever it is that you do, keep at it.
Oh, well, thank you, Darren. Much appreciated.
Paltrocast.